There's several advantages in a work environment. Speaking another's native tongue can help break the ice in meetings. Having a familiarity or a way to connect with people internationally is very important, and what a better way than to be able to speak their own language. It also eases a potential language barrier, although most people in the world, at least in the business world, know how to speak English. Some might not be very proficient at it. It's also easier for communication if you can work between two languages and make sure the points are get put across. And it also gives you an ability to work well in non-English speaking countries, quite obviously. But it's important to say this because employers look for people that can work in many different environments, and having a second language that gives you access to communicate well in many different countries is definitely helpful. It also allows you to explore new cultures. Learning a language also involves understanding the culture that weaves through it. Slang words, the music, the cultural phenomena. They're important to understand because they're actually, woven into the language in the way they speak, in the way they grammatically or they, their adverbs work, etc. You can see this in even the differences between the Romance languages. They have slight differences that are results of their cultures. And it also encourages travel and even living in places where the language is spoken. It gives you the opportunity to, or the ease of travel there or living there, to communicate with people, to learn more, to just enjoy the place as a whole. There are very many cognitive advantages, although there are some of them are slightly contentious, but there are a couple that are definitely true. Conflict management. People that can speak two or more languages have to identify the language being used and try to avoid the confusion between one language and another. As a result, they have very good conflict management. They also work in a very logical manner. They're good at logic solving because they also have to, they're probably not the best at every language, and you definitely will always lean onto one. So you have to logically figure out what the person's saying based on your knowledge of the language. Secondly, they say that people who speak a second language have better learning skills. They can process the environment quicker, especially patterns, and like I said earlier, they can more easily find logical solutions to a given problem. Thirdly, and quite contentiously, they say that learning second language can delay cognitive decline. Research shows that bilinguals experience cognitive decline much later than the average person. Maybe it's because there's more connections through the brain as new pathways that most people don't have. Or maybe it could just be an outlier that people who speak second language are less likely to have it. I don't know. But it is important to keep in mind this is very contentious. Through my survey of Americans living in Illinois, they said that 90% of survey participants believe it is important to learn a second language, but only 83% are actually keen to, and it's not too surprising. I mean, it's roughly the same number, but even so, if you believe it's important, I don't understand why you wouldn't want to just go and learn the language or have the tenacity just to better yourself. 88% of survey participants wish they would have learned another language at a young age. I had the fortune of doing that. I learned Spanish due to living in South America, and I do find it very, the diversity of language. You see it all the time in a lot of Latino communities where people can speak Spanish pretty well, and I think it's a very important tool into just in life in general. And why not learn it at a young age? Now, within each language in the US, it's no surprise that most people want to learn Spanish or French. So the two had the two biggest influences on our country, especially with a lot of the Latino community immigrating to the United States. And French is also seen as a romantic language, which I can see that. But also we have a border with Quebec, and and definitely there are a very high population of French descendants of French people here. So no surprise there. And 73% believe it is imperative that Americans learn a second language. This is something that I see as a trend in English-speaking countries. There's no real need to learn a second language like there is in mainland Europe or in Asia, where English is, let's face it, the reality of it is the lingua franca, the most important language that runs the world. And in a lot of these places too, that people live on borders all the time, but it's important to be able to communicate between two sets of people, and learning second language definitely helps that. Here are my works cited. In conclusion, it is clear that the world is diverse with a lot of languages, and speaking second language can definitely help you communicate with foreigners, help you interact with cultures from around the world, improve your cognitive ability. This can help you work better, communicate better with people, meet new people, boast several important benefits to your life.